So this is where we house all of our library resources. So this is a great starting point. There are a couple of different ways that you can find and get to Sora. In other ways, you can just use a direct link and you can just bookmark that on your homepage on your Chromebook. And so I'm going to ask Amanda to please put that link into the chat. So if you want to bookmark that on your Chromebook right now, that would be great. So if you're starting from the Lion page, you're just going to select your school. And then we're going to click on the eBooks tab here. And Sora is going to be the first one. This is where we house most of our ebooks. So we have more than 30,000 books in this collection. And you're just going to click on sign in using Denver Public Schools. But it's important to know this is also a free app. And so if you have a smartphone or a tablet that you can put this app on, it's available in Google Play or in the Apple App Store. Free app, and you can log in the same way. You can either search for your school and search for Denver Public Schools, or you can use the setup code DPSK12. And I'm going to ask Amanda to drop that into the chat. And that's just going to make it really easy to sign up using the app. So either way, once you get to this step, you're going to sign in. And this is the only hard part. Oops. Well, let's try that again. The only hard part is that you have to sign in using your GPS credentials. And so you're going to use your lunch number, which is your 6-digit student ID number, and your 8-digit birthday. And those are the two most important things to remember. So if you want to open up another tab and sign in as we're doing this, again, that's your lunch number, your 6-digit student ID number, and your 8-digit birthday. Now, because I'm DPS staff, I'm just going to sign in with my regular teacher credentials and my regular staff credentials and sign in. And now we're in. So we at the bottom are on what we call the Explore page. And we're going to come back to this in a second because this is the main place where you go to browse for books. If we go to the left to the home icon, this is going to show you if you have any books assigned to you, it's going to be in that first row. And then you're going to see everything that you have on loan. And then if you've defined any words or you had any notes and highlights, that shows up. And then finally, there's some book recommendations. So based on things that you've checked out, some recommendations of titles that you might like. All right, now we're going to jump over past the Explorer to the shelf. And this is where I have all the books that I have checked out. As students, you can check out 5 titles at a time. Over here at the top where it says holds, I can see any books that I have on hold. Then we have lists, and you can create your own lists and name them whatever you like. So if you want to keep like a want to read list or books that I love list. And then finally, history. Okay, now I'm going to go over to this final icon, the me icon. And here you can change your image if you want. It's going to show all of your personal reading data, and this is private data that's only accessible to you. So you can see how many books you've opened, average, how much time you've spent reading in Sora. And then there are tons of achievements, like the first time you check out a book, you'll get a blast off achievement. And then just lots of fun, like, first time you open an audiobook or first time you return something early. There are achievements based on reading in different subject areas. And those are just little digital badges that the first time you do something, you'll see that digital badge pop up. Okay, so now we're going to head back to the Explore page. And this is the most important page because this is basically like walking into a digital bookstore, except everything is free. There are no late fees. Nothing costs any money. And you can check out all of these books for as long as you are a DPS student. So all the way through high school, this is your collection for the rest of your student career as a DPS student. This is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long. So please, 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 during the summer, we see our stats go way down. Please know that you always have access to this, whether school is in session or not. All right, so there's a couple ways to browse or find books, and we're going to go through some examples because I want to make sure that you guys find tons of books that you want to read. And the first way is kind of like if you're just walking through like a Barnes & Noble and you're just walking through the shelves and you're just browsing. And we've grouped our books into collections that we think you might enjoy. And so I'm just going to scroll down so you can get an idea of what some of our collections are. And if you see something you like, for example, if you're a huge manga fan, if you could just drop that in the chat, that really helps us as librarians know, like, what should we buy more of? So if you see a collection that you really like, let us know in the chat so we can know we should add more books to that collection. So especially over winter break, if you're looking like just to do something off a screen or make some homemade gifts for family or friends, this Build It, Craft It, Create It collection is really cool. We've got funny books, books by Hispanic authors. We have tons of books in Spanish. So we have a Spanish nonfiction collection, Spanish fiction collection. We also have a Spanish graphic novels collection. I see slime. We definitely have tons of books about how to make slime. If you love watching, reading a book first and then watching the movie, that's the Real Reads collection. It's a great one to check out. Our DPS Top 100 books are books that we as librarians think are phenomenal and we'd love for everybody in the district to read. We have Mental Health Toolbox. I love our History Liberated collection. So this is what we are trying to do is the opposite of what our typical history textbooks look like. We want to make sure that we are telling the history from the perspectives of groups that typically don't get their voices heard. So that's what this collection is all about. Our LGBTQ plus reads collection. Spooky Thrills and Chills. Our anti-racist collection. I love Black Boy Joy. These are boys that celebrate the books that celebrate the humanity of Black boys. And then some of you might know Marley Diaz. She was tired of reading about white boys and dogs. And she wanted to see Black girls reflected in the books that she was reading. And she couldn't find those in her collection, in her library. And so she started this initiative to find and lift up the books, the titles that she could find that feature Black girls as main characters. And we now, when you add in our adult level titles, we have almost 1,000. So at the middle school level, we have about 260 of her books that she has curated, and we just keep adding to that. Our Black authors collection, superheroes, tough time to garden right now, but might be one to come back to in the spring. Okay, and hopefully you guys are logged in. Oh my gosh, this is my daughter's favorite collection here, Mythology Madness. She is a huge Greek mythology fan, loves Rick Riordan. If you're a fan of Rick Riordan, this is definitely one to check out. Okay, so I'm going to keep scrolling. I'm going to keep going, but you guys can keep scrolling. I'm going to stop for just a second. Any questions?
There was a quick question from a couple kiddos. Lillian, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, do they have a history section?
Yes, so we have the History Liberated collection, and then I'll show you some different ways that we can find some history books. So
I was asking because I know a lot of people that really like history.
And Lillian, can you give me an example of a time in history that you'd like to learn about? Like, for example, the Civil Rights Movement or women's suffrage or
the Declaration of Independence.
Okay. I'm just going to put that in our search. Okay, and we
could just like search them up and stuff. Okay.
Other questions?
Liv, go ahead and go next, and then Jocelyn, you're after. Livy, did you have a question?
Oh, sorry. I got nervous at first. Is there like an LBG? Oh no, there goes my headphones. Is there a section on the LGBTQ one about non-binary?
Yes, we do have non-binary titles in that collection, and Amanda might be able to help me remember specific titles, but let me just go into that collection. So let's say you know that you want to find a book in a specific collection. Rather than browsing the way that I was, the best way to do that is when you're on that Explore page, so click on that binocular, and then up in Collections in the right-hand corner, click on that. And then these are all in alphabetical order because we have a ton of collections. So this is going to be the easiest way to find all of them. So we're just going to go down to LGBTQ plus reads.
455.
Yep. And then you can browse all the books in that collection. But I'm going to go ahead and put non-binary in the search term and see what we come up with. And again, if we don't, here we go. So these are what came up right away. And then that's something that we are here to support with too. So if there's ever something you can't find in the collection, you can email our library help desk, and I'll ask Amanda to put that in the chat. And we can make specific recommendations of titles, or if you find that we don't have what you're looking for, we can look for titles to buy to add to the collection. That was a great question.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Jocelyn, you can go ahead and go next.
Okay, sorry, it wasn't letting me unmute. Okay, Miss, do you have science books?
Yes. So let's see. Let's go into. I think the best way to find the most science books without using a search term is going to be our STEAM collection. So I'm going to go back to that Explore tab, back to Collections, and then again down to STEAM. And you guys probably know this, but STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics.
Okay.
And so this is a great place to find it.
World War II novels, like.
This is so fun. Oliver, we have a collection for that.
Hey, Jocelyn.
I'm actually going to follow along with this because I'm really into World War II.
Hey, Jocelyn, can you go ahead and mute your mic? I just hear a lot of feedback, sweetie.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is it like...
Here we go. Thanks, Jocelyn. All right, Oliver, War and Military is going to be your collection here. So right at the bottom, we have 160 titles. So that's the one that you'll want to start off your search in. And then I see from Zephyr, is there a comedy section? Yes, so let me go back to Collections. And we're going to go up to Humor, books to make you laugh out loud. So this is going to be our funny books collection here. And Kyra, great question. So yes, we have thousands of books in other languages. So let's take a look at our collections again.
Like what?
I'll show you.
Okay.
So at the elementary middle school level, we have 30 titles in our Arabic language titles.
Uh-huh.
We have, let me just keep going down the list alphabetically. We have Chinese language titles.
Ooh, nice.
We have, let's see. Just want to make sure I catch all of them. Let's see, we have Portuguese.
Ooh.
We have Russian. We have Spanish fiction. We have so many Spanish that we divided it into different sections. So we have Spanish fiction, Spanish graphic novels, Spanish nonfiction. So here's an example of the Spanish fiction.
Ooh.
All right, did I miss any other questions?
I think there was one from Maddie Lou. Did you still have a question, Maddie Lou?
Well, I just got excited when she said she had an LGBTQ area for books because I would love to go reading, like The Pan and all those books. I got excited about that. I was going to ask more about that, but then Livy asked about it, and I was like, okay.
Perfect.
Some of my favorite recent reads from that collection are Ivy Aberdeen and, Amanda, what's the rest of that title? And the Something of the World. Ivy Aberdeen is what to remember. And Pet is amazing. Henna Wars is really good from that collection. There's a lot of fantastic titles in there. All right, well, we will come back to questions in just a second. I'm gonna just show a few more things about the search because I wanna make sure you guys can easily find everything you wanna find. So let's say that you really wanna find a specific title, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Just go into the search bar and type it in. And then there are some, whoops. Hold on just a second. Oh, I know what's going on, you guys. Sorry about that. I set my preferences for young adults. You're only seeing things at the middle school level, but then you're not seeing the elementary level. So I'm going to take that off of there and show you all. Sorry about that. Okay, let's try that again because we definitely have Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Okay, so this is how you would find a specific title. And then you're going to notice some different things. You're going to see, for example, this one, it says place hold. That means that I'm going to click on that title. That means that this title is currently checked out. And this is, if you click on more details right here, you can see that we own 31 copies, but all of them are checked out. That's why 0 are available. And so all you have to do is place a hold by clicking on place hold. And you guys can check out 5 books at a time. And so now you'll see it says on hold. And when you go to your shelf, now it's going to appear on my holds list. Now I'm going to go back to that title again. It's telling me that my wait is 14 weeks. That's not usually accurate. And here's why. Amanda and I, and we have 2 colleagues, we look at these holds lists every week. And as much as our budget allows, we buy more copies of the books that are placed on hold. So please make sure that you place on hold books that you really want to read, because that's just a great way for you guys to have voice in your collection. It's a great way for you to communicate, hey, we want more of these, more copies of this particular title. And when I'm going to show you real quick. So in this video, I just want to show you what it's going to look like when that hold is ready. So now I'm going to show you, okay. So this little alarm bell with a red dot, when that appears in your account, that's when you know that the title is ready. How to add that book to your shelf once the title that you placed on hold is ready to be borrowed. So when it's available, you're going to notice this alarm bell with a red dot, and that's a notification. So if you click on your notification, you'll see now the book is available, and all you have to do is click borrow. And that's all there is to it. So you just click on borrow and it instantly opens and it's added to your shelf. But if you placed a hold on a book and you have a ton that you're reading right now, you can also select to get it later. And that just means that after a couple of weeks, you'll have another option to be able to borrow that same title without having to go all the way back at the end of the holds line. All right, let's see. Okay, let me go back and pause there for a second. Are there any questions about how to place or receive a hold? Or anything about like how many copies that we own?
Kyra, do you still have a question?
Do they have?
Go ahead, Lillian.
Never mind. You answered my question in the chat.
Okay. All right, let me show you one more thing. Let's see. Let's say I really want to check out a Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but let me try. I'll do Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It's right there. But I really want to listen to it. I'm tired of looking at a screen. I just want to listen to something while I'm doing something else. And this would be a really great option from when you really want to enjoy a book, but your eyes are tired. So I'm going to click on Diary of a Wimpy Kid, but then I'm going to use these tags, and you can see at the top we have 25 audiobooks. You can click on this tag to just see the audiobook options. Another option is you could also refine it. You could also click on preferences, and then you could select just audiobooks. But here's what's important about that. When you do that, it would, for all of your searches, those preferences will apply. So for every single search I do now, I'm only going to see the audiobook. So just remember, when you search a preference, just to take that preference off after you're finished that particular search. And let me just show you what it's like to click on an audiobook. This is one I want to check out. I just click on borrow. Oops. If you've reached your loans limit, you can just turn a book in. So I'm finished with this one. And I'm going to click on this book. And all you have to do to return it is click on return. And that's it. And so now I have room to be able to check that book out. So I'm going to try again here. I'm going to borrow. And it opens instantly. Now I'm going to show you a little trick with audiobooks. And I'll give the example of, when I'm listening to a book in Spanish, I speak Spanish as a second language, and I really have to slow down the speed to be able to understand it well. And you can do that with these audiobooks. So I'm going to go ahead and start to play it.
Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of Diary of a Wimpy.
Here we go. Fast forward a bit.
My hair will grow out fast, so I can come back and hear the rest of the story.
Miss Aiken, can you hear the volume on that okay? Great, okay. Now I'm going to show you where this little clock is up top. When I click on that and I drag it down, I have the option to either slow down the speed or speed it up. Sometimes I like to speed up my audiobooks, but I'm gonna have you listen to what it sounds like at 0.8, because that's a nice speed for if you want to slow it down.
Friday. I think Mom's starting to regret taking me to get my hair cut the other day. The ladies at Bombshells introduced me to soap operas, and now I'm totally...
So that's just a little trick. I'll show you. Sometimes I like to listen a little bit fast, like 1.1. There we go. Let's try that.
Hooked. Yesterday, I was in the middle of my show. But Marisa...
So that's just something to be aware of when you're using audiobooks. We also have these titles called read-alongs. So let me show you those real quick. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
How do you take off like the stem mode or whatever modes in the bookmark thing?
Can you ask that one more time, Oliver?
Steam Marketplace, it says it's on. Only like signed stuff.
Oh, when we set our preferences to Steam?
Oh. So when here are my preferences. Let's say, I set the preference to sort books by title. I just click on the preference, and I'm just going to go back to default. But let's say, for example, that I had set my preference to Spanish, so I only see books in Spanish. If I want to then take off that preference, I just click on it and select that top option. And then make sure you click apply. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Well, let me show you guys one more different format that we have. So we have ebooks. And actually, I don't think I showed you what an ebook looks like. Let me go to my shelf, and I'll just open Percy Jackson here. And to turn the page, you simply just click. So this is what it looks like. If you don't want 2 pages on a page, you can click in the center of the page. And this little icon here, now I can just see 1 page at a time. Let's say that's like a lot of words on a page, and it's just kind of, sometimes it's overwhelming for my eyes, especially if I'm tired. You have the option to go over here to this 3-line hamburger menu and click on reading settings. And then you can just slide this text scale. And that way there's just less text on a page. Sometimes that's easier to read. Another trick is you can change, go into reading settings, you can change the font. So there is a font called Open Dyslexic. And for some students, this is really helpful. It's a little bit weighted on the bottom. And for some students, it makes it easier to read. So that's something just to try out, just to see if it's something that helps you. Another option is you can change kind of what the background looks like. If it's easier for you to read with a dark background. So there's just some settings there that you can play around with just to see if it's helpful. Let's say, for example, you're using this for classwork and you really want to, if you had this in person, you might be making Post-it notes to take notes. It's really hard to do that in an ebook, but there's some really cool tools that are built in that you can use. So let's say that you really want to highlight this part, and you want to write a note on it. So you would just click on Highlight, and you can change the color if you want, and you can click on Note. And let's say you want to say example of how the main character is determined. Just making that up. Okay, and then I click on Done. And now when you click out of your book and close the book, and all you do to close the book is just click on this little X, you can either look at all of your notes for that book within the book, so I can click on Notes and Highlights and see it right there. Or if you go to your home page and scroll down, you can see all of the notes that you've taken. So I'm going to click on this. But let's say Miss Aiken really wants to see these notes that you've taken. I'm going to click on this note. There's a little icon that exports the notes. You can click on Export and just send it to your Google Drive. And that's just an easy way to be able to share notes that you're taking on a book if you're using that for coursework. All right, I saw somebody yawning, so don't let me lose you. All right, I'm going to come back and let's see. I really wanted to show you guys, actually, let me show you one more cool thing within the book, and then I'm going to show you that last format. So I'm going to go back to my shelf, go back to Percy Jackson, and let's say, let me find a word that I'm not sure of. Let's say I don't know what expelled means. I'm going to click and hold, and then my other option is to define it. And it's going to show me the definition of that word right then and there. And then again, you right on that home page, you're going to see all the words that you've defined. And then one last thing, like let's say that you want to find anywhere that Nancy, or actually, let me see, anywhere Mr. Brunner is talked about in the book. So I'm going to do a search. And it's going to give me all the places where Mr. Brunner is mentioned. So just some cool tools to play around with. Okay, but now I'm going to close out of my book. And I'm going to go back to Explore. And go all the way back to Explore. And I'm going to show you basically the advanced search. So let's say you specifically want to listen to a book while reading the text in Spanish. So you've got a really specific search. So I'm going to click on the search bar and then go to More Options. And this is where you can really drill down. This is like librarian magic. This is what we live for. All right, so now I'm going to go to Language and select Spanish. And let's say I really want this to be, I really want it to be nonfiction. And I also want it to be a read-along book, which is different than an audiobook. Now I'm going to search. And I'm just going to show you an example of what this looks like. Now, I know this is going to be probably a little young for 6th grade, but I just want to show you an example. So I'm going to borrow, oh, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to return a book. Sorry, just a second. I just finished this one, so I'm going to return this one. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going to go back. And we're going to borrow this one. And this is what's different about a read-along book. So you get to see the text and see the illustrations, but it also will read to you. So I'm going to click on Start Narration.
Bienvenidos al Caribe. Bienvenidos al Caribe. Muchas personas dicen.
Whoa, that is super fast. I'm going to go and slow that down. So just like our audiobook, I'm going to click on the center, go over to my 3 lines, and now I'm going to click on narration. And my speed is pretty fast. So I'm going to slow that back down to 1.0. That's the normal speed. And now we're going to try that again.
Bienvenidos al Caribe. Bienvenidos al Caribe. Muchas personas dicen que este lugar es el paraíso.
So this is a really cool option to be able to both see the text and listen to it. And again, you can slow or speed up that narration. All right, so I'm going to stop there. I think that's all the things I wanted to show you before we get into some book talks. So I'm going to stop there again and see what kind of questions you guys have before we talk about some great books to read.
I think, Liv, you have a question?
Oi, did it unmute me? Did it unmute? Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry. It wouldn't let me unmute, but is there books in like German?
Yes, but we do not, I don't think we have any books in our collection, but let me check. So to check that, let me close this book. And I'm going to go back to Explore, and I'm going to go to More Options, and let's check in our languages. And the reason why, Liv, is we haven't received any requests for books in German, but if we know we have students who want to read in German, that's something that we can absolutely purchase.
Wait, is there a book in? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, these are all the languages we have right now. We do have German. Let's see what we have. So we have 12 books and 1 audiobook. So not
Ooh, Star
but
Wars.
something.
That's nice.
Yay.
Kyra, I love that you want to learn all the languages of the world. I was a Russian and Spanish major in college, and it didn't really lead to a librarianship, but it sure was fun to learn all those languages.
Well, I'm learning a little bit of Russian, but like I'm like getting a bit more fluent in German. So that's why I want German books so I can like be,
I know like some German and French and others.
I'm going to show, it brings up something. Let me show you guys. So another way to have a lot of voice in your library is if you're on the Lion page and you can't find what you're looking for, this orange bar right here, it says click here to recommend titles. And so this is where you can make a specific request. And here's where you would put the language and what format you're looking for. And so that's a great way to communicate with our team to let us know what's the collection missing that you really want to read.
Ooh, like I really want to read like lots of books, but Sora doesn't have it, so I'm gonna request a lot.
Love it.
Miss in Portuguese, Miss is a señorita. Miss. Wait.
Señorita, eu tenho uma pergunta.
Wait, is there a book in Romanian?
No, it's Portuguese. It's Portuguese.
I know.
We have Portuguese because we do have a significant number of students in DPS that speak and read in Portuguese, but we do not. We haven't received yet any requests for Romanian.
Okay, I will request some books for Romanian.
Oh my gosh, I love you guys. Other questions about kind of how to navigate Sora, how to find books? Actually, let's pause right here in the chat. If you could go ahead and rate again how comfortable you feel from 0 to 5. Like and 5 means like I now know how to find books that I want to read in Sora, and I know exactly how to check them out. Awesome. Thank you guys for the feedback. And I don't know if I'm allowed to assign homework, but this would be amazing if you could spend 5 minutes today just kind of figuring out Sora and going on by yourself and start checking out some books.